Welcome to the Two Into You podcast, the show where we explore the difference between love that lifts you up and love that holds you back.
We're your hosts, Madeline Campbell.
And I'm Mary Hayes.
In each episode, we'll unpack red flags, celebrate green flags, and help you spot when someone is too into you.
Run by Women's Age, the Two Into You campaign helps young people recognise when affection and romance crosses the line.
Together, we're here to give you the tools to navigate relationships with confidence.
So today, myself and Madeline are going to talk about emotional abuse. From our research and from talking to survivors, we know that emotional abuse is the most common form of abuse experienced by young people and young women.
In this episode, we'll be breaking down terms like gaslighting, love bombing, and negging, looking at the effects of emotional abuse, talking about examples of red flags we've seen in media, and reframing what romance should really look like.
Before we kick off, remember, if you're worried about your own relationship or even a friend's relationship, you can call the Women's Aid 24-hour national free phone helpline on 1-800-341-900 or use the chat service at 2intoyou.ie. Both are free and completely confidential.
Don't forget to rate us 5 stars and leave us a comment. So let's get started.
So, welcome back, everyone, to the Two Into You podcast.
Yes.
We have a lot to talk about today.
A lot, yeah.
We're talking about emotional abuse. I was kind of preparing for this episode and I thought, okay, you know, there's one or two things that we can cover. And then as I started to kind of dig into them more, I was like, wow, these are complex. There's a lot in here.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of dig into, first of all, you know, what people understand about emotional abuse, but also, you know, how varied it can happen.
Yeah. And I think maybe if we just start by like, what is emotional abuse? Because obviously we come across it a lot where people will say like, oh, abuse is physical and that's what it is. And that's the only thing I can really even comprehend as abuse.
Or the worst, that's the worst.
Or that's the worst.
Yeah.
So what is emotional abuse?
So emotional abuse is any type of abuse that puts you down, that makes you feel anxious or afraid or on edge. It could also include the threat of abuse. So feeling like you're walking on eggshells around your partner, like you're feeling isolated, controlled, that you have to report to them all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it can include things like name calling, like threats, isolation, and then things like gaslighting, negging, love bombing that we're going to get into as well.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that really gets into your head. And, you know, from conversations like our conversation with Jodie, you know, that was the thing she said that kept her trapped in the relationship because, you know, it really wore down her sense of self and her trust in, you know, listening to how she felt and her gut and everything like that. And that was the thing that really impacted her even after the relationship had ended.
Yeah. And I think like the way that I can understand it, and I think maybe a way we can reframe like emotional abuse is also just as serious as physical abuse, is that it is violent. Like that is a violent effect. Like just because there isn't a bruise or someone isn't grabbing you or throwing you or whatever it is just as violent. So even though there's the absence of that physical threat, it's still like yelling at you or putting you down or making you feel like you can't even trust your own inner voice. That is violent. Like that's not okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, as well, like we have an idea of emotional abuse being, you know, those put downs, the name calling, the threats, all that kind of stuff. But it's also the getting gifts, the apologizing, the winning you back, you know, winning you over.
Yeah.
So that's why it can be such a mind game and feel like you're absolutely brainwashed by the whole situation because it's constantly like up and down and you never know where you're at with emotional abuse.
That's such a good point. One of the ways I think emotional abuse is like it's confusing for the person experiencing it, but also maybe for a friend who's witnessing it is like, oh, well, you know, like I've seen in movies like, you know, there's the ups and the downs, and that's just part of a relationship.
Yeah.
Like you have to fight hard, and you know, it has to be passionate, and you know, it's okay that you're constantly together. Like, I think it's so confusing, especially for a young person, if you haven't been in a relationship yet, to like even know how to I don't know, navigate that. Like it's the only thing we're taught is to be in a relationship that kind of values
whirlwind.
And that's not okay.
That's what we should be looking for is that being swept off your feet and it being crazy and you know, fighting all the time and making up and really, you know, that's passionate. It's like, well, actually no, that's just really toxic and exhausting
and tiring.
So tiring.
Exactly. Like I think like when you want to be in a relationship, you want one that makes you feel calm. Like it's important to feel that because like the world is scary and there's so much going on. And when you're young, there's even more going on. Your relationship shouldn't add to that stress or that fear or anything like that. Like it should just bring you happiness, and it shouldn't be that like crazy, like all over the place, making you feel sick to the stomach.
Yeah, because like, you know, feeling excited is normal.
Yeah,
you know, you can feel excited and, you know, feel swept off your feet, but it shouldn't be something that's like transactional or that it's really like hot and cold and you never know where you stand with them. Like you can be in a healthy, calm, peaceful relationship where you also feel really excited to see them.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think when I talk about that, people are probably like, oh my God, you're in the most boring relationship in the whole world. I just mean like you can be excited and there's happiness and there's fun. It's just that you're not in fear.
Yeah.
Like your fight or flight isn't constantly activated.
Yeah. And actually, let's get into love bombing because I think that's really how it all starts.
Yeah.
So we recently went out at Longitude and we asked lots of people what they thought love bombing was in their own words.
Yeah.
I think love bombing is where you like overly like show love and affection, but like not in a genuine way, kind of like in a gaslighty way.
I'd say it kind of almost feels a little bit forced that you're pushing it on to someone.
Giving someone lots of affection in the attempt to have control over them, get that you under their control. Not genuine love.
For me, I feel like it's like one day they're texting you all day, the next day they don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
It's like hot and cold.
Yeah.
Love bombing. Love bombing
Is like
all for you like
straight
like
away.
A week, straight away.
Straight away, like
real
just met
into
you
it.
and they're like obsessed.
And then you get into it and you put your all into it and then it's like, oh, goodbye.
Yeah, and it's like a week later and then it's like, oh, you actually don't love me, okay?
Love bombing is sharing someone with affection to the extreme. It's usually very early on in a relationship and you can really miss it because you feel the emotion so strongly that you don't understand this is not the norm for someone.
So I think love bombing I think it actually happens a lot with when older people date a lot of younger people because they know what to do. It's when you spoil your partner with gifts and affection and call them pet names and all this stuff.
So love bombing, in my opinion, would be you might only know that person a couple of days and they're like throwing everything at you. Like they're just throwing out the love word. They're booking like mad holidays with you. I don't know. I think it takes time to get to know someone and know exactly who you're speaking to. And, you know, don't need to rush anything. You need to take your time.
Yeah.
So I was actually pleasantly surprised at like how much people do understand this because I know we're going to talk about gaslighting, which I feel like a lot of people really understand now, but love bombing isn't as commonly used. Just one of the things that stood out to me was that people sometimes equate it to like a good thing and that like when the love bombing stops that's a bad thing, but actually that's ghosting. You know, that it's people will say, well, I really want to be love bombed. You know, that all sounds really nice.
Yeah.
But actually, just to define it first. So love bombing, it's when you start going out with someone and they bombard you with love and attention and affection, you know, moving really fast in the relationship, telling you they love you straight away or you're my soulmate. Maybe wanting to spend all your time together, saying, you know, you're not like any of my exes, I'd be nothing without you, I'm so glad we found each other, all this kind of stuff, which can feel really exciting, very normal. It's what we see all over, you know, TV shows, film, media, and it's kind of what we're thought of as something to strive for. But actually it's a relationship that is moving too fast. So often you'll feel very overwhelmed, you'll feel anxious, things will feel really fast.
Yeah.
It mightn't be at a pace that you're comfortable with, and you might feel under pressure to move faster in the relationship than you want to.
And it's like when later on down the road, things are happening and you're like, oh my God, like if we could just get back to that beginning when they're telling me like, we are soulmates, he said, like, or like we're meant to be together. Like, why are they treating me like this? Like, if I could only if I change myself, I could get back to that, and they'll be showering me with gifts again and telling me that they love me.
Yeah.
They give it all so they can take it away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like painting themselves as this perfect partner. They're putting you on a pedestal. But also, you know, it's not just like the presents and the gift stuff. It's finding out what's important to you.
Yeah.
So that could be, you know, like family, or, you know, meeting your family, getting on with your family. If they know that that's important to you and they want to do that very early on, and they like go out of their way to really make an effort with, you know, your mom and your dad and your siblings or whatever, which can feel really lovely. You know, it's like everything you've been waiting for is finally happening.
Yeah.
But then they're kind of holding that over you. So I suppose they're creating this kind of fake future. Like, you know, I get on really well with your family. You know, we're soulmates. We're going to be together forever. I want to have kids with you. We're going to have a family. We're going to get married, all this kind of stuff. But then, you know, we see how it sets up an idea of them in your head and of the relationship in your head. So that then as the cycle of abuse continues, you know, you go through further stages of like control and isolation and gaslighting. Maybe there's an argument. Maybe you bring something up with them. There's a fight. And then they go into the apologizing. You know, I didn't mean to do that. That was not the real me. Excuses.
Yep.
And then they go back to the love bombing stage to reel you back in, basically, because that's what you were fed at the start.
Exactly.
And I think a really good way of looking at it is that, you know, not all romantic gestures are love bombing. You know, romantic gestures are okay.
Yes.
And I made a list here just to be really clear about it. So like, what is love bombing and what is not love bombing? So love bombing, generally it feels transactional. It's fictional. It's not real romance.
Yes.
It's not real
love. It's not genuine.
It's not genuine.
Yes.
It has an agenda behind it. There'll be fake promises for the future. You'll feel overwhelmed. They'll bombard you. They'll cross your boundaries. You know, doing things like showing up uninvited to work, to college, to, you know, you meeting up with your friends, to your house. And it's a way to establish control.
Yeah.
Whereas good romance is, you know, it feels chill.
Yeah.
You get to know each other slowly. You know, small romantic gestures, maybe noticing something that you're interested in, and say you're really interested in drawing and they get you a really nice set of pens that you'd been looking at or something like that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't feel like you owe them something in return.
Yeah.
You know, taking you out is fine. Having fun text conversations. They're okay with you changing plans.
Yeah.
You know, all this kind of stuff is totally fine as long as you don't feel pressured or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because romance, people want romance.
People want romance. Keelan talked about that a lot in our very first episode. It was like, it's not like the butterflies. Like romance doesn't have to be the like crazy passion. It's like you can make a plan to see them after work that isn't the love bombing version of them like showing up at your office with like dozens of flowers.
Yeah.
Like the movie move is actually not the romantic one because it's freaky.
Yeah, like your man in Love Actually, you know, he turns up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah, like he turns up to his best friend's wife's house with signs being like, I'm in love with you. This is so romantic. It's like, no, that's just really weird and creepy.
It's really weird and creepy, and you don't deserve weird and creepy. You're way cooler than that.
Exactly. Another example is, you know, The Notebook. Like, that's seen as like, you know, the most romantic movie in the world. And I'm not going to lie, I've watched it like a million times.
Oh my God, of course. Everyone has.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you can
should
point out the red flags now.
Exactly. You can learn the red flags by watching it. But like, obviously it's, you know, a lovely movie and it's shot beautifully and the acting is great. But like, Noah is, you know, pretty crazy in that movie.
Yeah.
You know, he hangs off a Ferris wheel to get her to go out with him first, you know. He becomes totally obsessed with her. They become totally obsessed with each other. They see each other all the time. And then when she leaves, you know, he basically goes into a ball of depression and he doesn't speak to anyone. He becomes an alcoholic. He decides to build this house for her that she never asked for.
Yeah.
You know, and like in the movie, it's painted as really, really romantic and lovely. But, you know, if it wasn't Ryan Gosling doing all this, you'd probably be like, who is this weirdo?
Yeah,
like,
it's
why
the
are
lad
you
down
doing
the
this?
road and you're like, oh, that's intense. Like you can have emotions that are strong for someone,
Yeah.
but intensity like that doesn't feel right because it won't sit right with you.
Yeah.
This is like so beyond what I want.
Yeah.
Like
or feel
that's
comfortable
just
with.
feel comfortable with. Like I'm
Yeah.
not ready for that. I've known you for 3 weeks. How are you telling
Yeah.
me you love me?
Yeah.
Like I just don't know you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
And
cut-
actually, on from that, I think that makes a lot of sense to move on to is gaslighting, because often they go, hand in hand. Gaslighting, it's obviously all over social media, which is, great that it's kind of being used and understood more. So let's listen to a couple of people at Longitude.
Can you tell me what your definition of gaslighting might be?
I think I'll take this one.
Okay, Queen.
Doing something and then telling you 5 minutes later it didn't happen.
Oh, and like, what do you mean I never said that?
Yeah, what do you mean? I never said that.
Like,
I have proof of you
huge
saying
thing,
that.
and it's like, what are you on about? Why are you acting like this?
It's on text message that you said it.
But like, what? You're crazy. Yeah.
Making someone try to believe that their reality isn't true. Like, this wall is not pink right now, that's blue, and you're stupid for thinking that it's pink. Like, are you okay?
So say you went out with your friends and your boyfriend was like, you were all over this ad, but you weren't. They're just kind of lying to lie, I guess, try to get you to think in your own head that you actually did that. And sometimes it does work. Sometimes you do actually get gaslit and you do believe, oh, I actually might have been too much all over this guy, but you weren't. You were literally just having a civil, normal conversation. So, in my opinion, stay far away from a gaslighter.
Kind of manipulating you into thinking you're wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe downplaying the severity of situations. Yeah, and making you feel like you're a little crazy when you're actually in the right.
You're actually not crazy. You're
Not crazy, you're not crazy.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
Gaslighting is always having someone think it's always going back to you. Even that it's always making you feel like you're the problem, that you're kind of left on your own. Making it almost feel like you're really, really isolated and you've no one to go to. Kind of like you're trapped in a box and no one's going to come and get you.
Yeah, I feel like gaslighting is where if you're in a situation where like someone needs to apologize to you, you kind of end up apologizing to them because they make you feel like you're the problem, if that makes sense.
So it would definitely be just not validating someone else's feelings and making them feel like whatever they're feeling is kind of crazy.
Make them feel like they're the problem.
Over-exaggerating
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, we don't do that.
We don't
Red,
do that.
red flag. Don't do it.
So yeah, gaslighting, I was just kind of prepping yesterday and I found a quote about it and I was like, that's literally it. If you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? That's what they kind of set up in your head.
Yeah.
So gaslighting, basically it's like, a lot of people got it really right there. It's making you feel crazy, making you feel like what's happening didn't happen, that it's in your head, that you're to blame for it.
Yeah.
And really deflecting that blame.
Yeah.
But it is really, really frightening, really confusing. And it's the thing that kind of starts to wear down your sense of self, your sense of judgment.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel like no one's going to believe you if you ever told anyone about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it might start so small. It might
Yeah.
be like, oh, I said that we were supposed to be hanging out today. Like, why didn't you show up? And it's like, well, no, we actually, like, we never talked about this. Like, oh my gosh. And then the next time it'll be something bigger. Like, oh, well, like you were all over that guy. Like, how can I even trust you to go out?
Yeah.
And like, oh, well, like you're always telling your friends about me. Like, we can't have anything private in our lives.
Yeah.
Like it just starts to like build and build and build. And
Yeah.
that's like what we were saying. Like, you can't trust your gut at that point. And that is even like, that builds another barrier for like seeking support and talking to someone about it, because you're like, oh, well, I don't even know if I can trust what I remember about it. Maybe, they didn't say that, or maybe I made it all up and I am to blame.
Yeah, because often they'll, rewrite history.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, they'll rewrite what are facts,
Yeah.
what happened. So they'll say that didn't happen, or you have a bad memory. So say, for example, like what you said, so we were supposed to meet up today. So even smaller than that, like we were supposed to meet at 3:30. No, we were meeting at 3. What are you talking about? It was 3:30. Like I think you're not remembering properly. I know you've a lot going on at the moment. Just planting that really small seed of doubt, so that then you slowly, the more and more it happens, you slowly start to think that their version of events is more accurate than you because, you know, they'll question your mental state.
Yeah.
So they're saying things like, you know, do you hear yourself? You sound crazy. You know, have you no self-respect? And by planting that alongside then the rewriting of history, it can really start to kind of brainwash you into thinking that actually, no, maybe I did do something wrong there.
Yeah.
Maybe we were meeting at 3:30. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And like, you always just feel in the wrong. And like that shouldn't be what you feel in a relationship. Like, you don't deserve that at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that gaslighting is one where like I can understand the effects of emotional abuse so clearly.
Yeah.
Like, because you can see how someone can go from being so confident and then you just see like they have to rely on their partner because that person has told them like you can't even trust yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it
happen so easily. And I think as well, this is one of the things that creates so much shame because it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, people think, well, I wouldn't put up with that or I'd see right through that. But it's so subtle.
It's so
people
subtle.
don't see it. And if you did see it at the start of the relationship, you'd run a mile. But it doesn't.
Exactly.
It happens over and over again in little small ways that starts to chip away at you.
Yeah.
And some of the other examples of gaslighting is playing the victim. So, you know, that they kind of maybe fake being overly hurt by something. So say you bring something up with them that they did that hurt you.
Yeah.
So then they'll flip around and play the victim and be like, well, you know, what about that time that you did this? They then might shut you out or they might cry. They might leave the room. They'll ghost you or like not talk to you for days on end, you know. And often you'll feel the conversation, you leave the conversation feeling more sorry for them than for yourself. You feel less sure of yourself, even though you went into that conversation looking for clarity.
They need to apologize for something and then you end up apologizing.
Yeah.
And like, you shouldn't have consequences in your relationship for like expressing your feelings or expressing hurt.
Yeah.
Like, if they've done something and you're like, hey, that was like not a nice thing to say to me, they should say, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry. Like, I shouldn't have said that. You're so right. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But if they are, you know, like, well, but you did this, like you just said, like, I can't believe, like, of course I'm going to say that to you. Like, you know, you talked to that guy the other night, or like, you didn't show up when you said, or you told your sister about this. Like, you shouldn't have a consequence for being like, my feelings are hurt.
Yeah. You know, apologies are one of the big things, is that they will do everything they can to avoid apologizing and taking accountability.
Yeah.
So, you know, they won't say, you know, I'm sorry for how I made you feel. They'll say, I'm sorry you feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
So like really.
Oh, that gave me like goosebumps.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's so gross. It's like, well, you're responsible for your feelings.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, I have no control over your feelings. But it's like, but you have control over how
we're
you
in
act.
A relationship.
Yeah.
Like, of course our feelings.
Yeah. Impact the other person.
Yeah.
And, you know, often as well, they will then minimize your feelings. So they'll say, you know, you're too sensitive. It wasn't that bad. You're blowing things out of proportion. And really what that does is it hinders you from sharing how you feel with your partner and having open communication.
Yeah.
And then that causes you to internalize everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, the weight of that can be really, really heavy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it just adds to the shame of how you're already feeling, you know. You might leave a conversation with them being less sure of yourself. So I think that's a good thing to kind of ask yourself after you have a conversation with your partner about something. To, you know, have open communication about something they did that maybe made you feel anxious or afraid or frustrated. That if you talk to them and you leave the conversation, do you have more clarity or do you feel less sure of yourself?
Yeah.
That is a really clear sign of whether or not you are being gaslit.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're taking accountability for their actions.
That's such a good way of putting it. Like, do you feel better after or do you feel worse? Because if you feel worse, something's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, one of the other things that an abuser will do in terms of gaslighting, so they'll often bring it back to something in the past. So say you're bringing up something in the present, that has had an impact on you because of something that they did.
Yeah.
They'll say, well, what about that time that you did that from months ago, And again, this is, redirecting the blame, playing the victim, all these kind of gaslighter acts that we see, and say then maybe you have like receipts, so you have text messages or screenshots or something to show, well, no, actually you did do this, you did say this, and you think that that's going to help the situation, but again, they will do everything they can to avoid accountability and an apology. So they'll say, well, you're so petty, look at you screenshotting things, that's absolutely ridiculous, do you not want to have an open conversation, like you're so childish, or say, wanting to have a conversation with your partner, but knowing, okay, well, I'm not going to get a word in, and they're going to deflect everything, and they're going to blame me for it, or they're going to walk away. So you write the really long email, and thinking, okay, well, at least they'll have to read this. They can't interrupt
they can't
me.
ignore this.
Exactly.
And I'm going to get my piece said. Yeah,
exactly. But actually what happens then is they just gaslight you in paper. Like, so they gaslight you over email in bullet points back.
Yeah.
Again, diverting the blame, minimizing your feelings, not taking accountability, playing the victim, all of these straight from the gaslighter playbook, basically.
Yeah.
So all of these things that can just make you feel like you're going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And paired with all the other stuff that we know happens in emotional abuse, the isolation, then the love bombing.
Yeah.
This is not a sign of a healthy relationship.
No. And it's a cycle that can keep repeating because all they want to do is maintain control over you and your feelings and where you go and who you're with.
Yeah.
All they want is to control you, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Yeah. Really scary.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about negging actually, because I think this is maybe one that's not as well known as love bombing and gaslighting.
This is my biggest red flag.
Yeah.
I'm a Virgo. I don't like being told I'm anything other than perfect. So like if someone's like, oh, like you're pretty smart for a girl. Like, could you imagine? That's not funny and it's not attractive. So that's my biggest red flag. But it is so much more serious than that. Like, I know, I'm sorry. I'm making a bit.
You are perfect,
Thank
Madeline.
you. Thank you. But like, it's so sneaky.
Yeah.
I think negging is so sneaky because I also think, especially in Ireland, it's kind of like part of conversation, just
Banter.
like take the piss out of somebody, like, oh, it's just banter.
Yeah.
But it's not banter. Like, you're making fun of me and you're belittling me.
Yeah.
And that's not funny.
Yeah.
And I feel worse now that I've talked to you. And we were supposed to be on a fun date.
Exactly. And it's so common as well on dating apps.
Yeah.
It's seen as this like flirty banter.
Yeah.
But, really what it is, it's a backhanded compliment. It's, trying to disguise an insult by kind of sandwiching it in between two compliments.
Yeah.
And really what it does is it makes you feel like you have to like prove yourself to them or like win them over.
That's exactly it.
When you shouldn't have to win over anyone.
No.
They should be trying to win you over.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you are the prize, as we say all the time.
Yes.
You're the prize. Like, if they can't recognize that, if they're saying things like, oh, yeah, well, like, I never usually date black girls. Like, okay, well, then don't date me.
Yeah.
Like, then you're not for me.
Take it somewhere else.
Or like, oh, like, you're like pretty good looking for someone like with a nose like that. Like, imagine that, like, that's not okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're the prize. Like, if they can't even think of something kind, like if you can't think of something kind to say,
a better line,
Think of a better line.
And actually, it's really common now as well because, unfortunately, there is this kind of like, pickup culture online, and it's something that guys especially are taught as a way to like pick up women.
Yeah.
And like as a way of like degrading them or tricking them into wanting your attention.
Yeah.
But if that's how they're starting out, it's not going to be good down the road.
No, because it does erode your sense of self. That's why I think it's so sneaky. Like, it starts as like, okay, haha, very funny. Like, I am really smart or whatever. Like, okay. But like, then they start picking at everything.
Yeah.
And like, it'll be like what you're wearing, like, oh, like, do you really think you should wear that? Like, I don't think it's very flattering.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like what do you think you're doing? Like, you think other people are going to think you're attractive? Like, and then you just constantly, it's another way to get in your head. And you're constantly doubting yourself. You think, oh, I'm not as smart as I thought I was. I'm not as attractive as I thought I was. I'm not as like good of a friend as I thought I was. Like, I'm none of the things I was so confident in.
Yeah.
Because then their voice is in your head being like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you look ugly. Oh, you're whatever. Like, it's so sneaky.
It's like a test. I saw someone in a video describe it as a test. So say, for example, they say, I just have, I have really high standards. Like, I always look for somebody who's like really driven, who looks after themselves, somebody who's naturally beautiful, somebody who, is really, really loyal to their partner.
Okay.
Sometimes that's a red flag, I find, when people mention loyalty, because they're like loyalty to a fault. It's like there is a line,
Of course there's a line.
Exactly.
Because you have boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. So, they say all this and, okay, but there's something about you. So they tell you that you've kind of passed this test, but there will always be more tests.
Yes.
And
you're
it's kind of
never
like,
going to get the passing grade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're like keeping you on your toes. So you constantly feel like you have to win them over. And then that's kind of slowly where this stuff can come in. Like, you used to look after yourself. Like, you've really let yourself go. Or, why don't we start this fitness class? I feel like you could really use it,
It's so insidious.
Yeah, it's gross.
That's horrible.
Yeah. As well, I saw someone else talk about the fact that, it comes from the playground. So think about, what we're told as kids. If a boy treats you horribly, if he insults you, he likes you.
Yep. Oh,
Why are we telling children this?
Let's not. Let's stop that. And it's such a trtrope as well in like, in rom-coms, but also in like romance books.
Yeah.
They're having their moment.
Lovers.
Enemies to lovers. That's not a thing.
No.
Okay. Enemies to lovers is not sexy.
Yeah.
Because they're just mean.
Yeah.
They're mean. Yeah. And you don't deserve a partner who is mean to you.
Exactly.
Like, I want to be complimented by my partner.
Yeah.
Both with the I and the E.
Yeah.
Like, I want my partner to, be someone I want to be with, who makes me feel better, who encourages me to feel more confident, rather than someone who's like, my confidence is only reliant on them, like
putting
giving
you down.
Those one-off compliments.
Yeah.
Because every other time they're putting me down.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate that. When people are like, oh yeah, they have to be confident. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm all about confidence. But it's like confidence at the expense of you.
Yeah.
It's like, someone can be confident and not put another person down.
Yes.
That's just bullying.
That's just bullying.
Yeah. And if somebody negs you on a dating app, you don't owe them anything. You can just block.
Just swipe left.
And
Bye bye.
No, thank you. Move on. You don't deserve my time.
No. Okay. So I think one other aspect of emotional abuse that we haven't really talked about before in depth is isolation.
Yeah. I think this is the thing that really, really can make you feel trapped and alone. And it really aids things like gaslighting.
Yes.
Because you have nothing outside the relationship. You feel like the relationship is your whole world and that your partner is your whole world and that you've no one outside it.
Yeah.
And not only that, your partner will, trick you into thinking that your friends don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah.
That they're a bad influence, that you shouldn't want to spend your time with them, that you should want to, dedicate yourself and put the work in the relationship. When actually you have every right and should have a life outside the relationship. It makes it better. It makes it more exciting.
Yes.
Brings more to your life.
Yeah.
And the reason that an abusive partner will want to isolate you is because they want to control the narrative, basically. So if you're in contact with friends, with family, you have a life outside the relationship, there's the opportunity there for you to talk to people and to say what's actually happening behind closed doors. And for other people, it may be much easier for them to recognize unhealthy signs than for you, because you'll have been basically brainwashed slowly over time into thinking that this is normal.
Yeah. And all it takes is like for a friend to notice that and be like, hey, like, is everything going all right?
Yeah.
Like, how are you feeling in your relationship?
Yeah.
And if you have access to friends like that, that is like an abuser's, like, they're like, oh my God, get them away.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be able to tell my partner, like, this is not okay. This is red flag. You deserve support. We're here for you. And they don't want their partner to hear any of that.
Yeah.
Because then they can't control them. They
Exactly.
can't continue this cycle of abuse.
Yeah. It's a threat to them maintaining that power over their partner.
Yes.
So I just wanted to read out one or two quotes from survivors, young women who've survived abuse, about like isolation, the impact it had on them. So Claire was 17 when she was in an abusive relationship. So she says, at the beginning, he was nice, making sure I got home safely and on time for curfew. He was attentive to how I was feeling on a daily basis, and he never failed to mention how good looking I was to him. In fact, he used to say that I was unique, which made me feel like I felt wanted and special. We can see love bombing there. Then she said, things became different after we'd moved in together when I just turned 18. It started when he said he'd like to see me wearing clothes of a certain style because he had better fashion sense and knew what he was talking about. He then began doubting my relationships with friends because of their lifestyle choices. He would try to convince me they were bad influences on me because they're nothing but sluts, or they're trying to keep you away from me because they're jealous of our relationship, he would say. Eventually, I was convinced he was right and that he was just looking out for my best interest, and I was soon socially isolated from my friends. And then she goes on to talk more about the impact of the abuse and how it, actually turned physical, and she eventually was able to escape that relationship. But, you can see there, for a girl who's 17, like when you're 17, your friends are your world,
Absolutely.
And to be told that they're a bad influence on you, that you shouldn't want to spend time with them, that they're just trying to break us up, they're just jealous of us. These are such like boring, stupid lines. Like, what a lame thing to say about you and your friends. Your partner should want you to spend time with your friends and be like really excited for you to go and have your girls' day out or do whatever it is you want to do. Continue your hobbies. Because they should celebrate you. They should celebrate your goals, your aspirations, and respect how you want to spend your time. Why should the person who's supposed to love you want to control you and want to tell you who you should or shouldn't spend time with?
They shouldn't.
No.
Okay,
so another quote is from Sarah. So she was also 17 when she was in an abusive relationship. She said, a few months in, he was adamant for me to stay in his house on the weekends. This is where the isolation began. Not hanging out with my friends on weekends, not spending time with my family. If I was to hang out with friends or attend a birthday party, he would always join. I was bombarded with messages and calls from him asking me questions like, who's there? Are there any boys there? I ignored this. I started a part-time job in a nightclub. As I was young, he was very against it from the beginning. He was adamant he was to collect me, and it could be no one else. I wasn't able to get a lift with a colleague or my parents. I started a new job and the same thing happened, except this time I worked weekends, and any days off I had, he would bring me back to his place. Again, I didn't have much time for family or friends. And then from that, more emotional abuse, love bombing, all the normal red flags, not normal, all the common red flags that we see. But again, she was in her first job, probably making new friends, starting to make her way in the world. And he's, something that could be framed as, well, I'm just looking out for you and just want to keep you safe. I'll collect you from work. Well, I don't want him bringing you in the car. He could do anything, this kind of stuff. But I mean, you are a judge of your own safety, and you don't need someone else to tell you what's safe and what's not. You're a grown-up person who is perfectly capable of knowing what's right and okay for you.
And if something were to happen to you, it's still not your fault. Like there's nothing a partner could do to keep something bad happening to you.
Because it's done to you. Not done
exactly.
by you because of your actions.
Yes. So them controlling this as if they could prevent something, you could get in a car wreck with that person. So like they should not have any control over who you're speaking to, over what you're talking about, over where you go, where you work, how you spend your money. Even if, maybe isolation doesn't look like you're not allowed to go out with your girlfriends, but isolation is like, if you say something about what happened last night, like, I'm going to hurt myself. Or you still feel isolated, even if you're among family and friends, because you feel like you can't even talk about what's going on without there being a
because they all love your partner.
Because they all love your partner.
Because from the love bombing stage, they've set themselves up as this amazing person and who gets along with everyone, who goes out of their way to be, like Jodie said in her episode, the funniest in the room, the nicest guy in the room. The lies.
No one would ever suspect it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why emotional abuse is so scary. And I think that when we hear from survivors, they say it's the emotional abuse that will stay with them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Because it feels inescapable and it like jumbles up your brain. You can't even feel like you can think clearly.
Yeah.
You feel you're depressed. You're like the effects of emotional abuse are so severe. And that's why, like, if you're experiencing anything like this, like, we want people to reach out for support because it is there, because it is so confusing, because you might not even kind of understand that negging and what it's doing to you and to your confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's such a difficult thing to have happen.
Yeah.
And you don't deserve to feel that loneliness, that isolation.
Yeah.
Like even if you feel you cannot speak to a friend or a family member, or there's no one you can trust, like there is support available.
Yeah. Especially if you're worried how, say, friends or family members will react because they know your partner so well.
Yeah.
Like, often it can be really helpful to reach out to somebody, you know, completely neutral who doesn't know any of these people.
Yes.
And that's why, you know, the helpline and the chat service are a really good starting place, because it's not that we're going to tell you, well, you have to break up with them, you know, you have to leave that person, they're a walking red flag, that's abuse.
Yeah.
You know, they're listening services, they're just spaces for you to talk about how you're feeling in your relationship.
Yeah.
And to be listened to and heard. That's what those spaces are for. We will never tell you what to do. Often we'll just give you more information, and then you can go and think about that or make a decision about your own safety or your own situation afterwards.
Yeah.
So don't ever think, you know, you're taking space from someone else on those support services.
No.
They're there for a reason, to be used, because you don't have to go through this alone, especially if you're already feeling alone.
Yeah. Okay, so we've unpacked a lot there, and a whole lot, and we've been yapping.
Yeah.
But I think if we can end the episode with two things. First is that emotional abuse is just as severe as any other form of abuse.
Yeah.
And being able to understand the ways in which it happened can both help you if you're worried about a friend. Like, you can maybe be able to see the patterns of those things. Like, maybe all of a sudden they're doubting everything they're wearing.
Yeah.
Or maybe all of a sudden they're, you know, constantly checking their phone every time they're out with you, and, you know, they're so anxious to get back with their partner. If you can better understand those patterns and those red flags, you might be able to support a friend. Or if it's happening to you, like, you can say, like, well, you know what, like, this is confusing. I am scared. I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Maybe I should, you know, take the quiz at 2into.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, maybe I should use the chat service because, like, I don't understand what's happening to me, and I feel worse than I used to.
Yeah. Or even, hopefully, if you're listening to this episode and things are, you know, sounding familiar to you, that you feel validated by this.
Yes. Yes. Because you aren't crazy.
No.
You aren't, you know, worthless. You aren't any of the things they're telling you are. You're incredible, and you deserve support, and you deserve a healthy relationship. And I think if we can ensure that anyone listening to this can kind of like reframe their idea and expectation of what romance is. Like, when you were reading out what is love bombing and what is actually a romantic gesture. Like, a romantic gesture is something that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
It's not something that makes you feel like sick to the stomach or like super anxious. Like, that's not romance. And I think anyone listening could just kind of like start to rewire those things, because we're told so much about what love really looks like. And, you know, if your relationship looks like this, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. And actually, the love that we're taught we should look for and seek is the love that doesn't make us feel good.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's about listening to your gut, listening to how it feels, because, you know, you might think, well, it's so lovely getting presents, and like they're talking about me all the time and, you know, wanting to show me off and post photos of us all over social media. But like, actually think, how does this make me feel?
Yeah.
Like, listen to yourself and tap into how your gut feels, what your head is saying, because you know, that part of you is so important.
Yeah.
It's your values, it's the core of who you are.
Yeah.
And it deserves to be heard and listened to.
Yeah.
Remember, we're always here for you. Whatever your question might be, we're here to help at 2intoyou.ie.
And if you're worried about your own relationship or even a friend's relationship, you can call the Women's Aid 24-hour national free phone helpline on 1-800-341-900 or use the chat service at 2intoyou.ie. Both are free and completely confidential.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you follow the 2 Into You podcast wherever you get your podcasts. A new episode drops the first Monday of every month. See you next time.